Hey folks, in this video I'm going to unbox the gigantic third-party Lewin Optimus Prime, and we're going to take a closer look at it in truck mode. Stick around, and as always, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. Hey guys, M here from Transformers and Video Games, and welcome back to the channel. In my previous video, I showed the arrival of a giant package that I ordered from ages 3 and up in Vancouver, which turned out to be the new oversized third-party Transformers, Lewin Optimus Prime. I chatted a little bit about what made me pull the trigger on this figure, and we took a closer look at the box. So now, without further delay, it's time to unbox this figure and see if it lives up to the hype. The cardboard box isn't as thick as I might have expected, but one thing that I was really pleased to see was the fact that Lewin Resources packed this figure in a thick layer of very durable foam to protect it during international shipping. I can't imagine anything getting damaged with this type of packaging. In the interest of time, I decided not to include any of the footage of me wrestling to get this figure out of the box, but believe me when I tell you that it was a struggle that lasted several minutes. Inside the box, right on top, there's a baggie with an instruction sheet, and on the other side, there's a collector's card with a production number on it. Apparently, this is supposed to be a limited release, and for what it's worth, every figure has a unique production number. Now, I'm just going to run through the accessories that are securely packed on the top side of the foam here. First off, I've got one of the smokestacks. Now, this isn't a plastic chrome or a vacuum metallized plastic. This is a solid die-cast metal piece, and it's got a good weight to it. You can see some really nice details on the one side, and that's just where it clips into the figure on the other. As I'm sure you've guessed, the second accessory here is just the other smokestack. Now, unfortunately, I do have a quality control issue I wanted to point out here. You'll notice that the one that I just unboxed up top is missing the connector peg on the left side. You see the one at the bottom has two, and the one at the top is actually missing the piece where it connects to the truck. Here's the back portion of the truck so that you can see where the smokestacks peg onto. I'm going to have to reach out to ages 3 and up and ask them to send me a replacement smokestack. Now we'll just carry on with the other accessories. Here we've got the Matrix of Leadership, and again, this is a solid die-cast metal piece. I was a little bit surprised. I thought that the center part might be glass or like a cheap crystal or something, but, whoa, I almost dropped it there. But it's just plastic. It's funny, this is actually huge. I can imagine putting this on a chain and wearing it around my own neck to the office. I could just imagine what my coworkers would say. And last but not least, we've got Optimus Prime's very iconic blaster. And again, this is just massive. You can tell in my hands here, it almost looks like an undersized pistol for an adult. It really is quite sizable. Well, as far as I'm aware, that's it for the accessories, so we're just going to continue along with the figure reveal. I'm just going to remove the top portion of the foam so that I can get the figure out a little bit more easily. Alright, I've just taken the opportunity to adjust my camera slightly, and I'm noticing at the back end of the truck that there is a baggie with various plastic pieces. Now, I've got no idea what these are used for, but if anybody knows, maybe leave me a comment in the comment section. Okay, now that all that's out of the way, it's time to remove the figure from the bottom portion of the foam, and I've actually decided to leave in some of the footage here of me struggling with the figure. Obviously, anybody can just grab it and yank it out of the box, but I don't want to be heavy-handed with this, just in case there are fragile parts. I would hate it if something broke. Now, one thing I noticed right away when removing the figure from the box is that the gas canisters are in the wrong position. I think they've done this during shipping just so that the peg that it pegs into doesn't get broken or stressed. If you'll notice in the inset here, there's more of a close-up of what's going on. You'll notice there's a hole on the gas canister, and that just pegs into the peg on the side of the truck here, nice and secure. And I'm just going to do the same thing on the other side. I should point out here that these gas canisters are not a chromed plastic. These are solid die-cast metal, just like the smokestacks and the Matrix of Leadership. The figure arrives with the tail end of the truck mistransformed, And I'm not 100% sure why they've done this. I can only guess that it was to make the figure a little bit more compact for shipping. It also means that they can use a slightly smaller box for it as well. I'm going to go ahead and transform the back end of the truck here so that it looks the way it should for this portion of the review. I should point out that the feet are a painted solid die-cast metal, and they come with these plastic protective sheets on them, which I'm going to leave on until I have my figure in the configuration that I want it to be in robot mode in my display case. Here's a close-up of the front end of the truck mode, and I'm noticing that Lewin has been thoughtful enough to include a plastic protective film over the front windows of the truck. I'm not expecting mine to really get handled or scratched up at all during this review, or really at any point, so I'm just going to go ahead and remove the plastic film. Obviously, it's going to look a lot better without it. It's funny, the right side came off a lot easier than the left side. Now we'll take a closer look at the front end of the vehicle. Now this front part here around the windows I thought might have been a painted die-cast metal, but it's plastic. The windshield wipers are chromed plastic and they will move up and down. Don't ask me why I'm doing this now after removing the protective plastic sheath on both sides. You can see some really nice rivets molded into place along the front. The front grille is a chromed plastic. The front part here, the headlights, they're mounted on die-cast metal pieces, and the front bumper is actually a chromed plastic. Now I'll take a look at the side of the vehicle, and for this portion of the review I'm going to go hands-free, so apologies in advance for any shaky camera work on my part. On the left here you can see some nice side mirrors. Now these are a chromed plastic, they're not die-cast metal, they just pull out like this. On the right side of the cab you can see that there is an empty space that could accommodate an Autobot faction symbol. Obviously they didn't include that with the figure since it's a third-party offering, but I have seen them on eBay for anybody who's interested. The tires are a nice heavy rubber and the rims are a chromed plastic. They do spin nicely. I noticed if you look closely in the center of the rim, each of the rims, you could see the shape of an Autobot faction symbol. I personally think that would look kind of silly if you were to put Autobot faction symbols in the center of each rim, but I suppose to each their own. I mentioned earlier that the gas tanks on the side here are a solid die-cast metal, and you can see some really nice molded details in place. Speaking of molded details, along the back side of the truck, there are a lot of extra molded details included here. Some of them have been picked out with paint. Now, if you really wanted to get picky, you could say that they could have painted more of them so that they would stand out more. And certainly paint applications do make any molded details stand out more. But sometimes I think for paint applications, it's a case of less is more. And I think for this particular figure, I'm happy with the paint applications that they've included. I think more of them might have just gotten kind of distracting. Now why don't we go ahead and take a look at the top portion of the figure in vehicle mode. There are some molded details along the top of the cab portion, not as many as we saw along the side though. In the center you can see some very nice shiny chrome parts. If I'm not mistaken, these are chrome plastic and not metal, but I'll have to confirm that when I get the figure into robot mode. Speaking of robot mode, you can see some yellow or amber colored plastic parts around the center of the truck, and those will form really nice details when we get the figure in robot mode. There are some molded details along the back portion of the top, and along the bottom here, again, you can see the die-cast metal feet, again with the plastic protective sheets to avoid it from getting paint chipped. Now just so I can truly show all sides of this figure in vehicle mode, I thought I'd show the underside of the figure. Now the way I've done this, I have just transformed the back end of the figure into his robot feet and stood it upright. You can see in the center there are some beautiful chrome parts, and quite honestly, this video doesn't do them any justice. They are super shiny. And you can see a bit of a glare from my light source there at the bottom, but again, the video doesn't do the chrome parts any justice here. They are quite shiny and brilliant to look at in person. Now, as everybody knows, they cheated a little bit with the transformation for version 2 Masterpiece Optimus Prime. This fake grille that we're seeing on the underside of the vehicle obviously forms the abdomen for Optimus Prime in his robot mode. Now, I know when MP-10 first came out, there were some YouTube reviewers that didn't really like that very much. They felt that the front grille of the truck should have formed the actual abdomen in robot mode. Now, I personally don't have a problem with that. I always think that they should go with what looks best. So in the case of MP-10, I think they made the right choice. I know a number of the online retailers that were selling this figure were pretty upfront about giving us the height of the figure in robot mode, but I don't remember reading anywhere what the dimensions of the figure were in truck mode, so I'm going to go ahead and give that to you right now. The width of the figure is approximately 7 3/4 inches, which is about 19.5 centimeters. The length of the figure is 21 3/4 inches, or about 55.5 centimeters. And then the height of the figure right from the floor to the top of the smokestacks is about 11 1/4 inches, or 28.5 centimeters. Now, as you can see, I have temporarily attached the smokestacks to the figure. I plan on removing them for transformation, and as I mentioned earlier, I do need to reach out to ages 3 and up to get a replacement smokestack for the one that you see in the back here. Since I have the figure in vehicle mode, and given that I'll likely never have it in vehicle mode again, unless I decide to remove it from my display and put it back in its original box for storage, I thought I'd do a couple of size comparisons. Now, I was desperately trying to find my MP-10 Oversized Masterpiece Optimus Prime by Wei Zhang, but unfortunately I put it away for storage a couple of months ago, and for the life of me I can't find it anywhere. So I'm going to go ahead with a couple of other size comparisons, and hopefully I can dig up my MP-10 in time to do my robot review. So the first comparison that I thought we would do is with the original G1 Optimus Prime with his trailer. Now, given all the reissues that we've seen of this over the years, this is a fairly common figure, so I thought it'd be a good one to do a size comparison, since most Transformers collectors and fans alike either have the figure or at least are familiar with the size of it, so that they can get an idea of just how massive the Lewin version of Optimus Prime really is. Now, as much as I love modern Transformers, I'm still a G1 Transformers fan at heart, and I may say this with a bit of bias, but I really think that G1 Optimus Prime still holds up well after 30 years after its original production. After looking at the largest transforming version of Optimus Prime ever produced, I thought what could be more fun than to compare it with the world's smallest transforming Optimus Prime ever produced. From 2001, this is Takara's world's smallest Transformers Optimus Prime. Looking at all three figures in vehicle mode gives you an idea of just how massive this Lewin Resources oversized figure really is, and only you can decide if it's too much of a good thing for you to add to your collection. Well guys, thanks for joining me for this look at the figure in robot mode, and I hope this review has helped you decide if you wanted to pull the trigger on buying one for yourself. I hope you will also join me for my upcoming video when I take a look at the figure in robot mode. Thanks again for watching, everyone. Take care.